All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Tara. I'll be your host for today's live demo featuring artist Sau Sau. She is from Hong Kong. Today's demo is focusing on bringing watercolor to your food. Don't eat it, paint it. This live demo is designed to showcase the artist's skills and knowledge and give you a taste of what's to come from their mini workshops. Our mini workshops are designed to work at a slower pace so that the participants can work alongside the artist via Zoom. If you decide that you're up for the challenge, the supply list and reference photos are in the YouTube episode link. Remember to share your artwork with us at hashtag Etchr Studio. We look forward to seeing everyone's work. Before we get started, take a moment and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at the bottom. And if you have any questions, please put them in all caps in our conversation boxes. If the questions are relevant at that time, I will feed them in. If not, we will hold them later for our Q&A. I am now going to turn it over to Sau Sau. All right. Oh, hello, everybody. We've got chats going on. Teresa's here. Teresa's one of our big followers. I see Teresa's name
Yay!
often.
Yeah. Ah. So hi everyone. Is it like my face is on now? Or is it painting? Okay. So hi everyone. This is Sau Sau. I am from Hong Kong. So right now it's midnight in Hong Kong. So if you are followers coming from Hong Kong, I really appreciate. Type like hello from Hong Kong, or if you're from Hong Kong, so that I know. And a little bit introduction about myself. I think most people know me through my Instagram account, that is painting underscore Sau Sau, PAINTING underscore SAU. I do a lot of food illustration, especially for desserts. So today we'll be doing this coffee. This is the Dalgona coffee. Is it called? That's really popular in Asia a few months ago. This is the coffee, and we will be also doing the this is the mini workshop. We will be doing the this is the souffle pancakes. So you will have the drink as well as the souffle pancakes, which will be perfect for an afternoon tea. And so in later on in the class, these are some of my other desserts, scones, for example, pancakes with strawberries, or different kind of bread and desserts. That is my expertise, and I'll be sharing tips in doing how to do realistic watercolor food art in this section and in the later workshop. So to begin with, everyone should have their sketch, a watercolor paper. I have provided a sketch outline, which should also be in the description link, so you can do the tracing if you want to, because first of all, for realistic watercolor food art, I think there are only two important things. One is that you have the correct color value. That means, for example, which part is darker, which part is lighter. That is the color value we are talking about. So even though if your color is more orange or more yellow, it does not matter. It is more about the value, dark or light. And the second thing which is important in creating realistic watercolor is that you have the correct shape, correct form. So if you want to focus on the painting process itself, you may consider doing tracing the outline so that you get the correct form. And actually, Etchr has provided me the mirror, the special mirror that's designed that you can put your iPad or image that they do the projection. something like this. If you have the budget, that will be a good choice. But if you do not have the budget, you also have another, you can also do it another way, because there is the sketch outline. You just use, for example, your iPad or some tablets that with the lights on, so you turn on the brightness of your iPad or tablets to the brightest, and then so the iPad is here, you put your outline on it, and then you put your paper, watercolor paper on it, and then you clip it with the lights on, then you can actually see through the lines underneath. Or actually you can, because this is a digital file, you can just open up the file in your iPad, then that is even easier, because the lights will go even better in that case. Then this will be what on the iPad, and then you can just trace it, then you can get the correct form, and this is already halfway through a successful painting in a realistic style. So, and then we will be, you also should have the actual photo reference, because we are aiming at doing a rather photorealistic painting. And to begin with, the first tip for today, yes, the exciting time, the tip time, is that there are somehow a better, or I would say a easier reference photo compared with other. So today it will be a glass. You can see it is round shape like this. If you want to make it realistic, you have to make it look really round instead of very flat. So I would suggest when you pick a reference photo to paint, other than you feel like, oh, this food is very attractive, this drink is very attractive, try to look into the contrast. So you can obviously see here is much lighter, it's much darker here. And importantly, on the glass, you can obviously see the reflection points is here. It's here. So when you see my sketch, you can see I have a line here. Because I want to mark down this area has to be lighter. If you are painting the entire glass in the same color value, that means the same type of darkness of the same color, then it looks very flat. So for example, there's some other examples. So for example, when you pick a reference photo, for this one, you can obviously tell there's reflection here. And here is lighter. Even though it's still red color, here is lighter than the others. So this is a better reference in the sense that it is so much easier for you to create the 3D effect. But comparatively, for example, this one is also a really, delicious drink for the summer. But because you can see all the colors are pretty flat, so if you follow their color value and then paint on your painting, it may end up being disaster because it looks really flat. So this is the first tip of today, is that in picking reference photo for your painting, if it is a glass, try to pick something that we can clearly see the reflection. So, and then let's try to get started today. I think in the description box, there is also a list on what colors that we'll be using. And I also have the list here. So in case because it's YouTube, you can do screen cap. If you want to, you can do it now. If you do not have the exact same color, it does not matter. So when I use that color, and if you really want to know how to mix it, or you want to know what are the alternative or replacement colors, then you can try to raise in the Q&A. And so let's get started. So basically, we will first start with this part, the cream first. So it is like this, the cream here. It is kind of, if you want to do a photorealistic painting, another tip for you is that to observe very carefully, because this coffee, it is kind of milky. Here, I think there should be milk. Here, this part is actually milk. So you can use, when I mix it, you can add a little bit white in mixing colors, which is the real subject, because it's not transparent. Milk is not transparent anyway. instead of, for example, orange juice, it should be transparent. Then you probably want to mix the color, which is more transparent. So in mixing this, I will be adding some white color with some yellow orchid. So a very, very light color. And then I have another tip, general watercolor tip for you guys. I'm using this kind of colors that is in some cubes. Actually, I buy it in tubes and then I drip it in, and especially it depends on what colors that you are using. Today, because I am using a student gray color, which is because I think a lot of people are not using really expensive colors. It's okay. It's definitely okay. You can still do beautiful painting with student gray. And one tip is that sometimes, because if you paint for a long time, it gets very dry, especially if you have your aircon on. So you can use a water spray to spray some water on it before you start painting, or after an hour when your paint is out there for an hour. Then let them soak in for a minute. Then it gets more soft, and it will be so much easier for you to paint. So this is a general tip for doing watercolor. So that start to going back to the mix, we are adding white color. The one that I'm using is not transparent, this semi-transparent whites that I'm using, and then with some yellow orchid. And then after mixing, right now your brush is with because you use your brush to mix, so your brush will have the most amounts of pigment and colors in it right now. And that's why I usually suggest that for the first brush you put in, like first you put into the areas which shall be the darker one. I mean, higher in value, more colors in it. So so I will here this part, I'll leave it lighter. So it's almost white, the paper white, and this part it has to be lighter. And this part would have to be darker, especially here when it connects with the coffee. So I will start here.
And this is the wet on dry technique, correct?
Yes, yes. And then I'm cleaning my brush with more water on it now, so that I kind of blend in the edge. So it is lighter here. And then I'm getting some more colors in it. And then I'm having more water on my brush. I'm cleaning it again. So here is almost plain water.
You stated you're using the student grade watercolors. What paper are you using?
The paper I'm using now is a brand called Balck. It is a Chinese brand. It is a I think this is 100% cotton paper, and this is 200 GSM, I think. Yes.
Is it hot pressed or cold pressed?
This cold pressed.
Cold pressed.
Yes, I actually tried the paper from Etchr as well. I tried the sketchbook, which is also the 100% cotton paper. That is good too, but just because today I have to fit in the camera setting, that is a book that will be more difficult. So I use other paper. Yes. Yes. So you can see that it is quite white. I actually didn't paint this part, and this part it is much lighter as well. So you can see the transition. Yes. And then on the edge here, I'm using a brush with clean water to blend out the edge. because for you do not want to have a very sharp edge there, so that when you add the color underneath, they would not be two separate parts. They would blend in because it's still wet here. So next we'll be adding this part of the coffee. We will be using burnt umber, which is a brown color. And because it's pretty dark, I'm also adding some black as well. So this part is still semi-wet. So here, the lower part, it is dry. So when I paint on it, you can see that the edge, it will kind of spread out because there's water on it. And this is exactly what I want, because if you look into the reference photo, the actual photo is that the two kind of liquid mixed together, right? In that point. So
You're not moving fast. You're nice. You're moving slowly. You're letting the paint do its thing with the paper and the water and glide.
Yes, and then I'm adding a little bit. I'm cleaning my brush and then adding a little bit on the edge with more water, just clean water, so that because it is not wet enough, I want them to bleed into each other. Because that is, if you look into the reference photo, this is exactly where the milk and the coffee, like they connect with each other. And we can use actual water to create that effect. For this side, you can make it a little bit lighter as well, because you can see here the light is coming from this side, so this part is lighter as a whole, but maybe just a little bit lighter. Yes, I'm washing my brush to add a little bit of water on the edge so that they blend into each other. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'm mixing some more paint because I think this is a little bit too light. Remember, watercolors, after it dries up, it gets even more lighter in the color value. That's why I want it to be a little bit darker. So I am adding another layer. It is almost dry here already because I have my aircon on. So I'm adding another layer.
What is the pastry you're going to be focusing on for the mini workshop?
Sorry, what is the
pastry you're going to be working on for the mini workshop? What is that called?
That is the souffle pancakes. Souffle pancake. Actually, it's just a pancake which is from Japan because I'm Asian. Yes, that's pretty popular. So it has the souffle texture. It's fluffy. Let me show you the painting of this one. This will be the souffle pancake. So it's fluffy. It's very thick, not like the American one, which is very thin, right? So it's so the actual food is like dong dong, like this when you cut into it. Yes.
Nice.
I think this is that is quite popular in in Asia.
Okay.
And I think it's from Japan. Yes, I'm adding the layer so that
It's enjoying how the colors are subtly just merging together to give that milky coffee mixture.
Yes, I think here it bleed out a little bit too much, so I'm using the tissue paper to control the spread. And then you can see that they bleed into each other, and that is exactly what happens in the reference photo, because you can see here there is a transition. There is some brownish color here instead of the whitish yellow here. So there's a transition also like this, because in reality the two liquid merge into each other as well. And then the next part we will be so that is one more tip that I can share. If you are a beginner, you are very slow, then you can do try to do in another way, is that you mix this color and this color both on your plate first. So after you add in this part, when it's still wet, you already use another new brush to have the darker coffee color on it. Then this is still wet, so they bleed into each other very perfectly. Yes, because if you're beginners, you're slower, then you can pre-mix the color first. And then next, we will be doing the cream on top. I'm adjusting a little bit. Yes, and then for the cream part, we will be using a base color. That is the Cadmium yellow, which is yellow with a little bit of more orange, I would say. So it's here. So a very, very light wash because it's a base color only. So I just paint over the entire area with this very light Cadmium yellow.
We already have people sharing that they've signed up for the mini workshop.
Oh, thank you so much.
We're going to need to eat before the mini workshop and then make sure people have food ready for us when the mini workshop is over.
Yes, actually it's good because you know, if you paint and then you use the time to paint instead of eating, then there's 0 calories and you can enjoy the food as well. I often think in this way. Yes, so you have a very light base color. Maybe in the camera it's even lighter, but that is actually very that is a easier way, is that if you do the watercolor, you add a base color first, then after it dries, you add in another color. So you start with the lightest first, then it is less likely that you will make mistake in doing the value of the color. And then next we will be using, because it is kind of orangish brown color for the cream here, and then we will be mixing some burnt sienna, which is a very reddish brown color, with yellow ochre. Let me mix here, if you can see. This is burnt sienna, and then I'm adding also yellow ochre. And then here we need because let me show you the reference photo. Some part of it is obviously very, very light. So you can skip, we will be showing the base color only, or very, very light color. So basically what you are doing for the entire part of the cream is that you need to create transition in the color. So it is same pool of color pigments here, but sometimes you add in more water so that it looks lighter. Sometimes you use these how dark it is now, so that ultimately here you can see the shade because some part is darker, for example here, and some part is lighter. And you also can see that because this reflection here, it actually goes along the way. So here you can see it's also lighter. So it's lighter in the entire area here. So in doing the transition, obviously you can do what happens here is that you use the same brush. Let me use a spare paper to show you. For example, you use the same brush. So for example, you paint it and then you wash your brush. You dip into the water and then clean your brush. And then you touch the edge so you can see the transition, right? It is lighter here because you wash your brush. This is a method using one single brush. But if you are beginners, sometimes you may find it quite difficult because you can't work very quickly. There's another tip is that you use two brushes. It may be similar size or not. It is okay. So one brush, this is a clean brush with just water. You just dip into water. And then the other brush, you get the paint, you paint on it, and then the other brush with clean water, immediately you can do the spread to do the transition. Then if you use two brushes, it may be easier for some of the beginners who, because you want to do it before the other part gets very dry. So speed is another thing that you have to watch out in doing watercolor. So this way of using two brushes sometimes helps a lot. So right now we have the most amounts of paint. I will start with here. Remember, now you got the most pigment in here. So I always start with the part which is the darkest first. So I will demonstrate both ways. So it's darker. I'm using the same brush with more water to spread it out. Even more water. Even more. And then
Everybody is enjoying the tips that you're sharing. It's giving a completely different view for everyone. We do have a question for you. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
Tea for me. Actually, I can't drink coffee. I have some issue with is it called caffeine, the substance in it. So I can't drink actually. I'm adding a little bit more colors here because in the reference photo you can see here there is a darker here. That is, again, you have to observe about the reflection. And then I'm leaving this part completely blank and leave it to add in the paints later. Because this part has to be lighter, right? So I usually suggest that because how dark is the value is by way of comparison. It is relative in the sense that if you put in a color next to a very dark color, for example, next to black, then it will look even lighter here. So it's it is the same the other way around. So if you put in red color next to black, the red will look lighter. But if you put in red next to white, the red will look darker. So it's by way of comparison. So if this part you want it to be very light, I will leave it at the end so that I can see how dark are the colors next to it. Yes, I am adding some more colors because I want to create more contrast. Yes, I'm washing my brush so that there's a lot. There's to spread out the color. Yes. Yes, I don't want a hard edge, so I'm using clean water here to blend out the edge here.
I'm noticing you're not having any problems with the bloom. Is that just the comfort in the water to pigment ratio?
Actually, I think you sometimes, if, as long as it does not breathe out to an area that which you do not want, sometimes I think it is not a huge issue. You do not have to worry so much about it. My take on it is that.
Everybody is looking forward to hitting the pause button on the replay and painting along with you later.
Yes, this is actually, I think everyone paints in a different speed, and it's important for you to enjoy the process. So it is YouTube, you can always watch it back, and then with you can also adjust the speed in watching YouTube later on. So definitely you can focus on watching how I paint and how I explain the theory, and importantly raise questions, because it's live now. You can raise whatever questions in watercolor that may be helpful to you, and then you can leave painting along later when you watch back the YouTube. Yes. Yes.
Sue Cam is painting alongside of you. She's a brave soul. This is awesome. I look forward to seeing what you do later. Make sure you use your hashtag Etchr Studio.
Yes. Also tag me so that I can see. I will be very, very excited. Yes.
I'll put her Instagram link in here again.
Yes, thank you. Yes. And then for this edge, I'm kind of also spreading it a little bit so that it does not look a very hard edge, even though I will add colors in later on here to this part.
Oh my goodness, many people are painting along with you. Teresa says she's got a hot mess going on. That's okay. You can try again later.
I'm very, very excited to see all of your paintings. Do let me know. If you do not want to post it, you can also DM me in the Instagram.
There we go.
Yes. Next, and then we will be adding the same color mix is this yellow orchid with burnt sienna here on top. Yes, this time let me try to show you how you can use two brush to do it. So this is the other brush with clean water on it. So let's try to, let me take out here. So I am adding in the shade. I'm leaving this part lighter because this blank, because it is as I said, there is reflection lighter part here. I'm using the other brush with some clean water. I'm dipping in a little bit of the colors to spread it out here like this. Then it may be quicker for you.
And we have just hit our halfway mark.
Yes, we should be. And I'm adding some clean water to this part.
And there's the multitask, 2 paintbrushes, 1 hand.
Yes. But even though you are holding 2 brushes, actually, it may, let's try. Sometimes I think for some of the beginners, it does help them to control better. It really depends on your habit. Just there are different ways of painting. Yes. a bit dark. Yes. For this part, it is actually, I'm just showing the underneath the base color, that is the cadmium yellow only. Then you don't even need to add water to that part. And that is the function of the base color. Yes. Same here, we are adding in a blank like this. And then using the other brush with clean water, dip in a little bit of the color. And then, oh, it's too dry now, the brush. It's a little bit too light. I'm adding in some more pigments here. And then using this clean brush again to adjust this area.
We'll drop in the link again for the 90-minute workshop on July 10th.
Yes.
It is $6 American dollars. So it's Starbucks for an hour and a half.
Yes.
Time well spent.
Yes. Because I think quite a lot of followers that are from Asia, it may be at weird hours for you again. But I think because I think there will be the recording as well that you can purchase. Yes. So if it does not fit your time, you have like, I think that is morning time in for Asian countries. Yes.
Yeah, the recordings for those are usually available within 3 days, and
Yeah.
you can always DM her through Instagram.
Yes. And then this part, similar techniques. Yes. Actually, the whole painting is using this technique of doing transition. There are not many different kinds of colors in this painting, but this way of doing transition is quite an important practice in doing watercolor. Whatever it is, food or you're doing floral, doing flowers, you know, sceneries, this will be something that you have to that you want to master on. Yes. Right now you can see that the contrast is pretty huge, and but we will be adding another layer of some other colors on it. And also you have to think about that actually for right now when you paint, often your head will get very down and very close to the painting. But when we usually hang on the wall or you look at it, then actually it is much further. So the contrast, if right now you think, oh, the contrast is way too much, actually when you take a step back, it may not be that case. Lighter here.
Really coming together. You can see it lifting, giving the illusion that it's lifting off the paper.
Yes, that is the importance is to create that kind of contrast. You can see same different color values. That is exactly what I'm talking about. I talk about that. So even though if you do not have that same color that is on the list, it's okay. You can mix a similar one. And you can see right now the shape already comes out. Yes, and then I am mixing the same color to fix a little bit of the okay. Because some part I think it is a little bit too light, so I'm adding some more colors on it now.
You have everyone painting along and in awe. I want to touch the cream on the top.
Yes.
And you really only used 4 colors.
Yes, we will be using a few more colors for I think we are adding black and raw amber, and that's all the colors we need today. And then for this same pool of the pigments, add some water on it. So you got a very, very light colors, and then you want to paint over here so that it does not look too light here. That's why I think I told you that you have to observe the colors. While we are waiting for it to dry, we will go back here. And I want to talk about how you do the bottom of the glass. For the glass, it's very important for you to show the bottom, because usually most of the glass there will be something at the very bottom. Like even though it is whatever type of glass, and instead of leaving it completely white, usually there will be some reflections here. You can see, right? So it is important for you to showcase that part. So use a very thinner brush. Right now I am changing to a size 3. This is an Etchr brush, by the way. And then you have to using some black to add that line. Oh, another tip is that if you want to make the line very thin, other than changing to a smaller brush, try to use your brush like this, very vertically, like writing calligraphy, instead of like this. If you're doing like this, let me use a paper, show you. If you do, sorry, let me get some paint. If you do like this, it's too dry. If you do like this, it's very thick. But if it's thin brush, if you do vertically, then you can do thin lines. You can see. So we are using it rather vertically so that the line will be thin. And then we just add in a line here.
So we have a question for you about how long does it take you to do a painting like this? And then the second part of that question is, how long have you been painting?
For this painting, if without teaching, just painting itself, I think I can finish in 45 minutes, something like this. But for a lot of the other paintings in my Instagram, those are much more complicated. And usually, I think generally for all those paintings in my Instagram account, this is about around 3 hours, like sometimes maybe longer with sketching. I think usually it goes up to 4 hours maximum because I can't really stay in the same place for so long. Yes. Let me go back to your second questions a little bit later, and I want to talk about, I dip in a little bit of the paint left for the coffee to the edge here, because it is also important for you to do painting like this, that you need to add in the color nearby to your painting. So I'm also using clean water to wash out the edge here, so that this color will bring into the white part here. This is important because in especially for glass, there is a lot of reflection. And even though if it is not glass, in all of the things here, the colors that we see in our eyes today is that there is affected by the lights. So always there will be what we call the environmental color. I'm not sure if it is the same English term, but that is the translation because I speak Chinese. Yes, is that for example, if you see my hand now, under the fresh color, there is the colors from the lights. So the lights also reflect on the other part, for example, the table, the things nearby, the phone, the camera I'm using. So it is not just fresh color. It will have a little bit of the color of the environment bouncing on the hand. So that is a little bit of color theory, is that you need to bring out, mix a little bit of the color nearby to your painting, especially if it is glass. So for all of the glass, for all those white part on the reflection, bring in a little bit of the color nearby it, a little bit, so that it will look more realistic. And then we will be adding black color, very dark. I'm changing to the larger brush because we need to do the shadow underneath to bring out the, it is kind of negative painting that you use the black to show past the white part of the glass. So shadow is also very, very important in doing realistic painting, because realistic painting is all about lighting contrast. So I will be adding in black here. And then I'm washing my brush. That I think in the material list, I talk about the importance of having 2 jars of water, is that you need clean water now. A jar of water which is completely clean. I dip my brush into that clean water, and then I beat I'm spreading out the edge with clean water. And then let me go back to the question, how long I have been painting. I think I did watercolor for about 2 years, I think around 3 years. Actually, I start on doing watercolor not long ago, before I open up my Instagram account. Yes, and then very quickly I fall into this aspect of doing food illustration. I really like it. Yes, and then yes, and then again, this is doing transition, but because your brush will get diluted, that there will be a little bit of gray even if you add in clean water. So you need to keep on adding clean water on the edge so that it does not have a hard watercolor mark on it. So even though in the camera you may not see clearly, if you are painting along, you may know what I'm talking about. Yes.
Yeah, it gives the nice fade away for the shadow.
Yes. And you can see the shape. I adjust the shape of the shadow as well. That because obviously it's lighter this side, the light is coming off this side. So the shadow, it is more leaning to this side. This is also important for doing realistic watercolor, is that you have to observe the lights and how it affects all the other parts, including the shadow. So with that on, with the shadow adding on, then you can see the shape of the glass, the bottom, very clearly. Yes, the white part will stand out. But actually, if you look into it, it is not completely white.
Mm-hmm.
It has, yes. And then we are going back to the cream. Yes, and then I want to add in a little bit of raw umber, which is a even darker brown, to the cream. You can also suggest to add in, if you still have the color left on your plate, add in the raw umber to the original color mix. This is the same theory I talk about, in that when you need to add in another color, you add in the color nearby or underneath, then the effect will be more natural. Yes, because we want this to stand out a little bit, and then so we're adding in on the edge here. Because it has the original color mix in this color, so it will blend in with the color underneath more naturally. And then for the very dark part, for example here, add them in again. So the contrast will be even larger. This part is that with this added, then you can see that the three levels of the cream, and then if you add in, then you can see more clearly there are different levels. Because with this added, you can tell which part is more underneath and which part is more upfront. That is also important so that you can really see that it is more 3D.
And when you're adding these highlights in, you're using smaller strokes, almost like you're placing in dots.
Yes, and actually you have to do it. I'm not sure if you can see, I do it very gently, because you do not want to lift up the color underneath. Sometimes if you use very sharp brush, and because the underneath is completely dry, and then if you do it very hard, then sometimes the underneath layer will be lifted up with your brush. So you have to be, yes, we do not want that. So we have to be more gentle, lighter, like in terms of force. So you're putting it on top instead of blending out with the color underneath. Yes, and then I also want to add a little bit here.
So we have just about 5 minutes left, but we can go over some.
Yes. We will be finishing very quickly. Yes. and catch the chance if you need to ask any questions before I go.
We've got a question about the type of paper you prefer for watercolor.
I'm a very typical cold press person. I think usually because one point is that I like to have very textured paper. I like very because for cold press you can hot press is very flat. It does not have any pattern like any. So here I think generally like the raw rough texture is something that I prefer. I like to see the paper texture. That's why I like cold press a lot. Yes, after the raw amber adding in, you can see that it is even more 3D. And then use the color left here and then adding in here because I want it to be darker. I'm adjusting the color value here. And then lastly, we have to add in the eyes so that it looks good for summer. And then it is very, you can follow the photo obviously, but you can also do it like place whatever, how much eyes you want. And the color basically is just those we are using is burnt sienna. You can add in a little bit of yellow orchid if you want. You can use a little bit of raw amber or burnt amber. So same way of doing it. You just add in a little bit of the color and then you wash your brush to spread out the edge. Because the eyes is within the drink, it is kind of can be seen and cannot be seen. It's like halfway. So you do not need to paint the entire thing. You just need to give a hint of the edge of it. And there's another way of doing it is that you first, now the brush is clean with clean water. You add in clean water to the paper first. And then when it is semi-wet, you add in the paint. Then in this case, it will, because it is wet right now, so it will breathe out. The edge will not be that hard like this one. It will be more, I'm not sure if you can see clearly in the camera. Let me try to focus better. Yes, it kind of breathe out. Yes, because in this is ice inside water. So the shape is not very clear, actually. So that's what I talk about, like halfly seen and not seen. So this helps you to create that effect. So it really depends
nice
on.
But it's not controlled.
Yes. That's why you can see like the edge. It will, because it goes with the water, but it is also because we are doing watercolor, so you want that kind of watercolory effect. But it really also depends on what you like, because at the end you will have your painting. And I think this is also important because you will develop your own style, even if you follow a teacher or something. And then this side, I will make the eyes lighter in color because it receives more light and reflection. So this side overall is lighter. So even the eyes, I'm adding more water to my brush so that it looks lighter. Same for here. This part will be lighter. And this is exactly what I said. If you use the same paint, same amount of pigment here and here, because it is light, it's white, the color will stand out more. Even though there's amount of pigment in your brush is exactly the same, the effect will not be the same. because it is relative. Yes. And then after the eyes is added, then we are almost done. I hope everyone can follow with me. I hope you guys are also painting on the eyes.
I'm going to drop in the link for our feedback survey. I just put in the link for the 90-minute workshop, hoping that everybody can join us there. Remember, mini workshop, $6, $6 American dollars. And here is our feedback survey. Take a moment, let us know how we're doing. This has been an enlightening event for me. I've learned a lot. Your technique is beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, I really appreciate if you guys can like fill in the feedback form so that like or leave a comment later on if you have any questions as well. I'll try to answer, and I really want to get feedback from you guys and share with me, and hashtag Etchr for like in Instagram for your painting, so that I know that like how well you guys can done. And I think I am almost done here.
And share it all. Remember, this is just the beginning. Remember how many times she has done this painting and how many times you have done the painting. And each time you do it, you'll get better. You'll see different things. You may try different colors. You may want to go completely funky and pull out the opera pink and play with that. You never know.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I think because it happens, I also always welcome feedback and message from people into my Instagram account, and sometimes if they don't mind that I'm giving feedback, they sometimes ask for it, then I can also give feedback on particular parts that they can try next time in enhancing, for example, the form or the how realistic it is. If you don't mind and you will ask for it, definitely I will give you some feedback. But just yeah, it really depends. So for my painting right now, I've added the sufficient amounts of eyes that I want, and I think it's pretty 3D. I hope you agree. Yeah, because I think through the camera, and compare with real eyes, looking at it, it is slightly different. But yeah, so I think overall you can see how to create like 3D realistic grass in watercolor. And I hope that you guys enjoy this session.
Thank you, everybody. I believe that everybody felt highly informed. You shared some wonderful tips. We have lovely feedback on the side here, thanking you for your tips,
Thank you.
appreciating your talent. And I think we should let her go to sleep now.
Yeah. Yes, and thank you all of the other like attendant like participants who are also in Asia having, at midnight late hours with me. I really appreciate.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, we will see you all again soon. Remember, her mini workshop is July 10th, and sign up for the reminders on our live events. They're happening very frequently. Hope to see everybody again soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. For those going to sleep, sleep well.
Okay. See you.